Hello students, welcome to this ethics class. Now we will discuss 2021 2A Impact of digital technology as reliable source of input for rational decision making is a debatable issue. Critically evaluate with suitable example. So even now it is still a debatable issue how much how much digital technology can be used as a reliable source of input for rational decision making. But it is still a debatable issue, and here UPSC wants you to critically analyze. It means focus more on the criticisms of digital technology as reliable source. So again, before watching this video, you should have attempted this question on your own before at least once. And again, ethics is a very subjective paper. This is just one of the ways of writing the answer. And the reason I am discussing answers, the reason I have adapted this approach is to make you understand what UPSC wants to know, and to improve certain concepts, and to clear certain concepts, and to improve your understanding, and to provide some guidance. So understand that this is just one of the ways of writing the answer. Ethics paper is very subjective, and here it is still a debatable issue whether digital technology is reliable source, and here we need to focus on more criticisms, because that is why it is still not a reliable source of input. That's why UPSC wants you to critically evaluate, because it is still not a reliable source of input. So let us see. Digital technology has led to huge growth in freedom and speed of movement of speech and expression with both good and bad sources of information. It means that digital technology has led to growth of freedom of speech and expression, and it also improved the speed of movement of speech and expression. So the speed with which information is moving has also improved. Now, good sources are driven by responsibility, values, and facts, and bad sources are driven by materialism, whether it may be legal or illegal materialism. For example, certain materialism you can carry out legally, and some you try to carry out illegally. And bad sources are driven by boosting hatred and anger, misinformation, increasing intolerance, promoting agendas, increasing radicalization and violence, and taking advantage of poor state of literacy and social relations. So if you see bad sources, they are generally driven by these all factors. These are generally the factors based on which bad sources evolve. One is materialism. They want to boost hatred or anger. They use misinformation. They try to increase intolerance. They try to promote agendas. They try to increase radicalization. They focus on increasing violence. And they generally try to take advantage of poor state of literacy and poor state of social relations. So this you have to understand. These are the major reasons why bad sources exist. So here UPSC has asked to critically evaluate with a suitable example. So you take one example. You can take any example and try to list out these factors, like how that you try to list these factors in that one example. This second part I'll discuss again. This is for a general answer. For example, instead of a suitable example, if UPSC asks a general question, then you can list a lot of examples. So this part is to give you many examples, and this part is for a general answer. But for time being, for this answer, let us go to this slide. So one example I have taken is climate change. For example, climate change is being projected as hoax. That means it is not real. So we need to identify the elements. What are the elements? One is materialism. We find this element. Coal, fossil fuel power, oil, gas-based automobiles and other industries have material benefit in it. So we have listed materialism. Next we are going for misinformation. Dubious facts are being fabricated and circulated by websites and other news sources like Fox News. So next we have identified misinformation. So we have identified materialism, misinformation. Next, going further, hatred, anger and materialism are being boosted by such information to prevent calm, peaceful, empathy and rationality based thinking. So even these are being boosted. Next, poor levels of scientific understanding and social relations which could prevent misinformation are being taken advantage of. So if there was good scientific understanding, if there were good social relationships, then misinformation could have been prevented. But since they are at very poor level, they are being taken advantage of. So if you see, generally these are the factors that result in the bad sources. So if you take an example, you can take any example that you want. Try to list off these factors in that example. For example, in climate change, we see materialism of oil companies and other companies. We see websites trying to fabricate wrong facts. We see them trying to boost hatred and anger rather than allowing people to think rationally. And we see that they take advantage of poor state of literacy and scientific understanding and poor social relations. So this you need to understand. So if we see, it comes to around 146 words. And if it was another question, if it was a general question, then you can write a lot of example. So here I am trying to give other examples where you can use the examples which you can use. And if it is a general answer, then you can write these examples. But not for this answer. Here UPSC has asked critically evaluate with a suitable example. So you need to take one example and try to find out all these elements in that example. These elements are nothing but materialism, hatred, anger, misinformation, etc. If it is a general answer, then you can write like this. The bad sources can be seen in unverified WhatsApp forwards, lack of criticism against governments in mainstream media. So other examples include communal hatred and mob lynching in India, hoaxing climate change, lot of US citizens believing presidential election to be stolen, non-compliance with mask wearing and vaccines, huge funding to media from political parties, radicalization of Maldives youth and recruitment by ISIS, IT cells in political parties, etc. Thus, digital technology is still not a reliable source for rational decision making. So, we have critically evaluated digital technology. There are both good and bad sources of information. Since we have to critically evaluate it, we have focused on bad sources of information, and we have taken one example and we have showed how that one example has all the bad elements that we have listed in the bad sources of information. So that is all. Thank you.